Okay, so I'll just continue a little bit with Bafokeng, maybe. Do I have to? Yeah. All right. So there's a stock called Bafokeng Platinum or something like that, and actually they're very prospective. Yeah, Royal Bafokeng Platinum. I'll show you a bit. I don't know if you guys have had a look at Simply Wallstreet yet, but amazing app or website, I reckon. It helps a lot. Tierney, especially like if you want to, like for instance, with me, I'm quite an idiot when it comes to like understanding business credentials and whatnot and everything. So this really helps. So what they've got here is like a snowflake analysis, basically describing. Oh, this is so slow. Describing half past future value and dividend. And what I tend to look out for is something that's got good value, good future. A lot of focus on the future, obviously, because then there's a big chance that you could really rake in a lot of funds. And Bafokeng really stood out as one of those stocks, one of those companies. So, for instance, just a quick summary of them, like these people rate them at 55% below a fair value, and they grew by over 7,000% in the past year. Obviously, that does come with risks, and one of them was that they've sold stocks inside for the last 3 months. My understanding of that, I suppose Simon can help, or Dylan. Let me just sign in with Google quickly. Oh.
With the insider stock selling, that's not necessarily a negative sign, because people sell stocks inside for various reasons. So they can either just need the cash quickly. It's not that they necessarily don't trust the share, but when there's insider buying, that's a great sign. So insider buying is a very strong sign. Insider selling doesn't really mean much. A lot of people put emphasis on insider selling, but it actually doesn't mean anything.
Okay, all right. Well, that's then good news, because I've only really seen positives about them. So I mean, okay, slow increase. Not so obviously the big thing about Tongaat and Nutritional Holdings is like we could flip a pretty penny within the next year, whereas this seems more like a long game kind of thing. However, if you like, so their market performance and everything seems good. I'm just trying to find. Where's the nice value?
Just what's the 1 year return there, Cam?
So, 1 year return of 41%.
No, okay.
So yeah, so it's like, so there's a positives there, like they exceeded ZA Metals and Mining Industry, which returned 30% average over the past year. So they're slightly better in that regard. And then it also, like, so their volatility is actually quite high compared to the average industry standard. So that's like, for me, that's actually more of something that I like. That's you got a greater chance of turning over prospective cash. So yeah, for instance, like they're trading out 84, 85 rand, and these people scut that they're actually around 190 rand. So for me, I'm not too sure. You can probably view data over there. I'm not going to delve into that now. But then they got a lot of things that I don't really understand, which I'm sure you guys can explain. But the future growth for me was something that's quite interesting. You can see they're going to maybe stable out around 2022. So in 2 years, that's your return that you can. So we're looking at, 1 year. I keep forgetting it's 2021. So yeah, earnings of 2 billion a year, and it's forecasted to get to 6 billion a year, which is like six times or 3 times in fold.
Do you know how they're planning on growing it that much?
There probably is. I think if we have a look at, it probably says, because they won't just, I think maybe view data. future estimates, average of up to 5 analysis estimates in all numbers. Or so it's probably in the news somewhere, and I haven't actually done due diligence on Bafokeng. That's why I haven't actually brought them up, but I just figured we could pass the time on
I was just wondering. And have you like read up any news or like headlines and stuff about them that aren't in this thing?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's obviously, so yeah, that's probably something that I should do, because I mean, this is after all only one source. What I liked about it though was they seem to really incorporate a lot of things. So you can like go to your own portfolio, you can make a portfolio, and then it keeps up to date everything. Like it gives you news about. So I've got these holdings clipping over here. There's a good old Hulett Nutritional Holdings, and yeah, so here's news. So New World Naspers. So like it gives you news about whatever is in your portfolio, which is quite nice. And then I suppose you can just have a look at that. So yeah, so I just thought it would be nice for you guys to have a look at this.
You don't trade off your Cam. You just do it for information.
No, I just use it to keep track of stonks. So yeah. But that's that. So yeah.
That's good insight. Thanks for that, Cameron.
Thanks for that, Cam.
Simon, now do you wanna?
Okay, let's see if I can share my screen. Can you guys see my screen?
Well done, Dylan. Yeah, okay, I can see Simon.
Can you see it? Okay, you can see me changing desktop now.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, you can see all of that. Okay, so let's go to the
PowerPoint presentation. Yeah, even
Yeah.
Simon, Steven. My opinion.
I actually had that as non-legal financial advice, illegal, non-licensed. Anyways, okay, so I'm gonna just give you guys my little bit of analysis on cryptocurrencies, and then I'll do nutritional holdings afterwards. All right. So, in the past year, the total market cap of the cryptocurrencies went from around 250 billion to 1.5 trillion at today's estimate, but it changes quite a lot every day. So, yeah, like you can take that with a pinch of salt, but basically it's more than like 5x, basically nearly around 7x. So it has been growing a lot recently, and there's a lot more people watching what's happening there and covering it now. So on my screen, you can see the breakdown of the different currencies, with Bitcoin being the majority at 64%. So there's a bunch of other ones, but yeah, I don't really follow the smaller cap ones. I only follow Bitcoin and Ethereum, which you can see are 64 and 14% respectively. So the reason that I only follow these two is because of a principle called the Pareto principle, which basically states that generally in any it's basically that 80% of the winnings will go to the top 1 or 2 or 3 cryptocurrencies, and it's true in various different fields, such as like search engine dominance is mainly dominated by Google or whatever. So in this instance, I believe that Bitcoin and Ethereum are going to stay the two biggest ones. And if you look at their total market share, it ends up being 78%. 64 plus 14 is 78%. So it comes out to nearly exactly 80%, which is what the principle suggests. Okay, so that's the reason why I'm only focusing on those two. And then one comparison that's made a lot is Bitcoin versus gold. So, yeah, and also, guys, you can feel free to ask me questions anytime. Can you guys still hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. So, why Bitcoin versus gold? Traditionally, gold has been the like store of value. It's been like that for thousands of years. But lots of people have started comparing Bitcoin to gold, and they see a lot of similarities between the two assets, and that that comparison has led to people estimating that Bitcoin is going to go to about $500,000 per Bitcoin to match the market cap of gold. Now, I'm not necessarily saying that is going to happen, but if you look at Bitcoin and gold, there are some similarities. There are also some differences. Obviously, Bitcoin not being tangible, but mainly the idea behind gold being valuable is because people perceive it as valuable. So with Bitcoin gaining more adoption, there is more perceived value behind Bitcoin. Also, there's this thing called Metcalfe's law, which states that the value of a network grows proportional to the number of users connected to it squared. So the more people start using Bitcoin, the more valuable it becomes. And I looked around for retail Bitcoin adoption around the world, and it's difficult to get exact figures because it's so anonymous. That's part of the appeal of Bitcoin, is that it's so anonymous, as you guys know, and that makes it difficult to track exactly how many people are using it. But adoption is low. There are different ways that people have used to kind of try and estimate how many people are using it, and it's less than 1% of people globally. So as Bitcoin becomes more widely adopted, the value of it should grow in proportion to the rate it's being adopted at. So yeah, basically, for instance, Tesla recently allows you to buy Bitcoin, or allows you to buy Teslas with their Bitcoin. So because you can buy Teslas with Bitcoin, Bitcoin does inherently have value. Because if somebody is going to sell you their Bitcoin for $10, you can immediately go buy a Tesla for the price of $20. So nobody's going to just sell their Bitcoin to you for $10. That immediately puts a floor on the price of Bitcoin, because you can buy other assets with it that actually do have value. So yeah, there's more and more vendors starting to accept Bitcoin. A few of them are Wikipedia, Microsoft, Tesla, and PayPal. And then another crypto that I'm actually a little bit more optimistic for is Ethereum. Ethereum is a slightly different technology to Bitcoin. They both run on the using the blockchain, but Ethereum has something that they call smart contracts. So this is going to transition into decentralized finance, which basically will allow for you to have your ID card on your phone and have property rights handled by Ethereum. So instead of having to go to a lawyer to have legal documents transferred to yourself, or between parties, you can just have Ethereum handle that by use of smart contracts. So yeah, if you guys have questions about that, feel free to ask. But it's basically going to allow for the middleman to be cut out in most financial settings. So you could also use it, for instance, buying stocks. Maybe one day you wouldn't need a broker. You could just use Ethereum, because you'd be able to write contracts that allow for the property rights that you own of your stocks to be transferred to another person. And Bitcoin is designed to only allow you to transfer the rights of your Bitcoin to another person. Ethereum is going to allow you to transfer anything. So it's completely up to what is developed for the Ethereum platform. So there's a lot more opportunities there. And then also Ethereum 2.0 has recently been released. I think that was released on the 1st of December last year, and that has changed the network from running off of proof of work to proof of stake. So that allows for more transactions to happen per second, because with proof of work, you have a whole bunch of miners mining to complete the transaction, but with proof of stake, you have contracts handed out to people based on how much Ethereum they own. So for people to be able to complete contracts, they have to own Ethereum, but it gets quite technical. So you basically need to know that more transactions per second are going to be able to be handled with Ethereum 2.0. So that's a big positive if it works without any, I don't know, like is not, as long as nothing gets hacked or broken and that runs smoothly, that should be a very big positive. Then on the short term, Bitcoin, yeah.
Sorry, I just before you carry on to the whole next slide, I'm still trying to wrap my head around the difference of Ethereum and Bitcoin, and then also with regards to that first pie chart of how Bitcoin's what, like 64% and Ether's like 14.
Yeah.
You said that's quite a volatile pie chart. Does Ethereum, is that 14% value, is that increasing sort of as the months go by? Is Ethereum starting to get a bigger slice of the pie, or is Bitcoin still going to be dominating for most of the part?
Yeah. So I'm not sure as of when, but recently in the past, I think it's about 3 months, Ethereum has been gaining market share relative to Bitcoin. So Bitcoin used to be around, I think, 75 to 80% of the market, and Ethereum has been gaining strength relative to Bitcoin. So that's also one thing that I think is going to happen, is Ethereum's going to eat away a bit more of that market share, because it has so much more functionality. Bitcoin is the first one. It has the most prestige. People know about it. It's been around for the longest, but Ethereum has a lot more applications. So I think you're going to see Ethereum's market share gain relative to Bitcoin's. And then also the difference between Ethereum and Bitcoin is that with Ethereum, you can use it for more than just sending people money. The Ethereum network can be used to send somebody the rights to your property. Not at the moment, but there's the possibility for that. And it's likely that it's going to happen because people are already developing apps for these kinds of things. So the whole thing about Ethereum is you can build this network of decentralized finance on top of Ethereum. So Ethereum's like the base layer, the network Ethereum. And you can build all of these different contracts on top of it. And you use Ether, which is the asset that you buy, the Ether coin, to do these transactions on the Ethereum network. So the Ethereum network has the possibility to support transfer of different kinds of properties, or basically you can create anything that you want to transfer and you want to cut out the middleman with.
Okay, thanks.
All right. Anyways, back to the short-term view. So it's important to note that Ethereum and Bitcoin have a very high correlation coefficient. So whatever happens to the one is very likely to affect the other one. And Bitcoin has been in a bull run for about the past 20 weeks, with its current price being 95% above the 20-week simple moving average. So in bull runs, the 20-week moving average is, or historically has been, a level of support for Bitcoin, and it's currently 95% above it. This is not the longest that we've been above the 20-week moving average without testing it. I think we're about 150 days without testing the 20-week moving average. And in the past, the longest that Bitcoin has gone without testing it is, I think, 170 or 180 days. I'm not sure, somewhere around there. So towards the end of March or mid-March, there could be something happening if the past has anything to do with future market corrections. So yeah, that's something important to keep in mind. At the moment, I'm holding a bit of cash because I want to be ready in case there is a correction. So I wouldn't advise buying in now. That's not what I would do. Like, I'm sitting with my cash now, and if there's no market correction, then you do lose out. But if there is a market correction, then you could potentially get Bitcoin for pretty cheap. So you never know it's going to happen, but it's probably wiser to just hold onto your cash for now because it is quite overpriced. Just looking at the average price of Bitcoin over the past 20 weeks.
Okay.
If you want to have a look at some more crypto technical analysis, there's this guy called Benjamin Crowan. He does very good technical analysis. So also be sure to have a look at his channel. That's where I see most of this stuff. I'm not too clued up with the technical analysis, but this is just something small that I could give to you guys. Also, just as a warning that it is quite overpriced at the moment. So just be careful. All right. Then Nutritional Holdings. There's the past 2 years financial results, just like some headline stuff. The important thing that happened last year is they turned a profit for the first time. So that was very big, mainly attributed to the new cannabis market that they entered with the acquisition of Ukusela. So that's been very important. The main problem with a small business like this is the debt management. So you have to be careful that they can meet all their short-term obligations. So yeah, I had a look into that, and it seems like they've got everything covered over there. They do have very high finance costs of about 1.8 million rand in 2020. So that's quite high if you look at the profit of 5.9. So yeah, but generally the balance sheet looks decent. They don't seem to be in any big trouble there. And then the growth prospects are pretty good for Nutritional Holdings. They've got this contract to the value of 400 million rand for their current food operations, which is maize and staple foods. So that's just like, I think, mealie meal and staple foods, things like that. And then this Ukusela has gotten a contract in Germany to the value of 1.28 billion rand. And then they have this Japanese contract to the value of 780 million rand, which is pretty huge because that means that their revenue over the next year, so from 2021 to 2022, should be around 500 million rand, which, if we go back, is more than 10 times their current revenue. And assuming they have a 5% net profit margin, which is prudential, they would make a lot more profit. So I mean, it's you don't really have to look too closely. Like, you can see if they're gonna more than 10 times their revenue, it's gonna end up making them a lot of profit. So that's something big that happened over there. That's the main reason why I would even look at this company, is because of those two contracts. And then following those two contracts, they'll have to keep on getting new contracts. Maybe they'll have recurring contracts as well. But those are two of the big contracts that really matter. And then with their debt, the debt is mainly owed to shareholders, so it's not. It's also majority shareholders of Nutritional Holdings. There's this holding company called Empire that holds about 66% of Nutritional Holdings, and they own 8%, 8 million rand of the 17.8 million rands debt, which is interest free and also doesn't have specified repayment terms, which is quite good for Nutritional Holdings. So they don't have to worry too much about that 8 million rand. And then the other 9 million rand is at 12% per annum. So that's mainly that comprises about 1.1 billion or 1.1 million rand in debt or in finance costs. So that's the bulk of the finance cost that Nutritional Holdings has to pay, and that finance cost is substantial. So that's why I had a look at the debt over there. And then the global cannabis market is estimated to be 1.2 trillion rand by 2027. So there's a lot of growth over there, and this could be something worth buying. I think
Simon,
there is going to be a lot of growth. Yeah.
Yeah, and then so with regards to the debt there, so that's obviously the biggest risk, investing all in this, and then they use that money for acquisitions and assets and things, and like if they go bankrupt, then we lose that. But what are the chances that this debt won't be repaid? I mean, is that it seems quite. I mean, based on the annual growth rate of the cannabis market, it seems like that this debt isn't much of a problem from my point of view.
It's not much of a problem. That's just something I mentioned because with a company, the one thing that can kill it is debt. So you've just got to be careful that the debt is managed well, and usually debt is used to grow the business. But with these new contracts that they've got, it seems like they've got everything under control. And with these contracts being so large, they probably will be taking on new debt to be able to meet the supplier's needs, to meet the contract needs. But I think it should all be fine.
Yeah.
But just something to keep an eye on. So.
Okay, thanks very much for that.
Yeah, that's all.
All right. So that concludes Nutritional Holdings and the cryptocurrencies. So I guess we'll leave Tongaat and Glencore for Gabriel. Hopefully he comes on in the next 5 minutes. But I guess just for a quick summary, which I'll put like flags in the recording so that you don't have to listen to the whole thing again. Just for a quick summary, do you want to give us a recap on the Nutritional Holdings in a nutshell and the cryptocurrencies in a nutshell, Simon?
Okay, sure. So
a quick 2-minute summary of each.
Okay. For the cryptos, I think long term, it's a very good market. You're definitely going to be making some money there. But in the short term, there's a lot of volatility, so just be careful. Perhaps the best idea is to cost average. So just buy in with a small percentage every week. And then just hold once you've bought all in. And with Nutritional Holdings, I think this contract that they've got with Germany and Japan is going to be quite big. So definitely something to have a look at. And that's pretty much all.
Yeah, and the biggest threat of Nutritional Holdings is that they're sort of startup company with
they're pretty small.
Yeah, with billions of shares, so their debt could sink them. But at this point, due diligence seems to indicate that that won't happen.
Yeah.
All right, and I'm also curious because the shares are still around 1 cent a share. So I wonder at what point there will actually be a change in the share value. that's something
Yeah,
interesting.
so I've seen articles that they're thinking of, that the Nutritional Holdings management is thinking of doing a share consolidation. So it goes to 25 shares into one. So that could add a little bit more liquidity to the shares. Because at the moment, yeah, they're not going to double the share. Nobody's going to buy the shares for double the share price. So then they can make smaller moves up. So I think that's going to happen over there.
Okay. Lekker. Thanks for that, Simon. I appreciate the effort as well in the slideshow. I think that's just going to compel me to make another slideshow for the next time we meet.
All right.
All right. We can now move over to current investment discussion. Basically, what this just means is, what do you, or what are you looking at now? If there's anything you want to talk about. So, for instance, an example would have been Steinhoff for James Rolfe, but so he couldn't make it. But things like, let's say, Naspers or Implats or Sassel or something like that. If any of you want to have a chat about that, the floor is yours. Dylan, I know you also want to chat about Dogecoin. I think that's one of your current investments. Your mic is muted, so if you're talking, we can't hear you.
No, I do not want to talk about Dogecoin.
Okay.
That was a joke.
Okay. All right. I think what's quite interesting is Implats. I don't know if you guys have some shares in Implats, but things are looking quite good there. And I think another one is the article that Gabriel sent on the group earlier on. I think it had to do with hot new export crop. There we go, saffron farming. So that's once again, he's not here to talk about it, but I think Implat is also quite a prospective thing. They've only, over the last 4 months, let me just try and get some figures out here so that I'm not just spitballing. I'm still on Simply Wallstreet. Let me actually just share a screen here. There we go. So once again, if we just have a look at their current valuation right now, over 1 month, I mean, they've come from a min of 200 to 235, and 3 months from somewhere around 150 to 235. So I think they're looking very bullish, and I would recommend if you guys don't have shares in them, just to give them a check, see how you feel about it. So I just feel like I wanted to highlight that with you guys. Impala Platinum Holdings. Okay. I guess now just the last thing is just waiting for Gabriel. I don't know where he is. Welcome, Liam. Glad you can make it.
Thank you. Sorry, I had some technical difficulties with my motorbicycle. Yes.
Okay.
The engine stop switch was clicked on, and I didn't know that. So it didn't want to start.
Sounds like a technical difficulty, not of the motorbike, but of the driver himself.
Yeah, it was a bit of both.
All right, Liam, is there anything you wish to chat about, talk about? We're kind of in the additions now of the agenda.
Yeah, so like I don't actually know, because I don't know what you guys have spoken about. So I don't know if this, like, I wanted to ask some questions. Have you guys spoken about like Bitcoin and that sort of stuff yet?
Yeah.
At all? Because like, yeah, the one of the questions I had was just like, what do you guys like? Yeah, there's this craze and stuff, but if this question has already been answered, then I'll just listen to it in the recording. But like, what's driving that is just emotions and like what hearsay. There's nothing physical driving it, like platinum or sugar or whatever, or electric cars. like there's nothing behind it. So I just wanted to know like what you guys feel is like the sustainability of that, and like investing in something that you actually have no idea what it is.
Yeah.
All right. I'll try and answer that. So when I was doing a bit of research, I was looking at why people value gold. Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
So basically, gold is just perceived value, and that's why it's valuable. That's why it's used in jewelry, because people perceive that it has value, so they want to wear something to show that they have money. And that's basically the main use of gold is in jewelry, and then also just being held in a safe. And even though it is tangible, people generally transfer the rights to gold. They don't take the gold, put it on a plane, and fly it somewhere else. So even though it is tangible, that doesn't necessarily matter. It's more that people perceive that it has value, and yeah. So the value of Bitcoin is pretty much determined by supply and demand, and the supply is limited. So it's all up to the demand to determine what the price
supply.
is.
Dylan,
Sorry?
can you stop cooking, please?
What?
Dylan's busy doing his own gold mining over there.
Are you talking about me?
A bit of a noise, yeah, it makes a bit of a noise.
No, bro, there's literally nothing happening by me. I don't know what you guys are talking about.
And you're probably moving your mic around.
No, I don't even talk about that.
Anyway, sorry, Simon, like, because if you say that it's like supply supply is limited of Bitcoin, like who limits that supply? And like, because like with gold, okay, supply is limited because you can only take this much out of the ground, but with Bitcoin, to me it's like a thing on your computer. You can just decide that there's more.
Yeah, so the whole Bitcoin structure is based on lots of decentralized nodes, and each of these nodes has a ledger that states who owns what, and built into the structure of Bitcoin is that there's only 21 million Bitcoin in supply. So nobody can change that unless you hack every single computer in the world that mines Bitcoin. You can't change that. Or you wouldn't need to hack every single one. You'd need to hack more than half of them. But that would be practically impossible because there's tens or hundreds of millions of them around the world. So that's kind of the 21 million in circulation is fixed. Like nobody's going to be able to change that. You can't hack that because of the decentralized nature of the structure of Bitcoin. So that's how the supply thing is limited. And then to do with the demand is basically it will come from people using it more. So the more widely adopted it becomes, the more people are going to accept it as payment. And when they start accepting it as payment, then the demand is going to grow, and that'll also build in inherent value into it once things start being traded for it. So for instance, I've already mentioned this, but you can buy Tesla for Bitcoin, and that automatically fixes Bitcoin at a certain price, because otherwise, if Bitcoin's value falls below this price, people are just going to start selling their Bitcoins or start buying a whole bunch of Teslas for Bitcoin. So the more things that become accepted, the more things you can buy Bitcoin with, the more Bitcoin's value is going to become concrete.
Okay.
And also, the intangibility of Bitcoin isn't actually that much of a big thing. I mean, if you think about it nowadays, rands aren't tangible. Yes, you can have a 10 rand note or a 20 rand note in your pocket, but all that is it's just paper. There's no value. The only reason that there's perceived value is because the government demands that you pay your taxes in rands, and it's generally accepted. It's widely accepted. So the same thing with Bitcoin is when it becomes more widely accepted, the prices will also become less volatile, and then it'll be a lot safer investment. But then there's not going to be so much growth. So at the moment, it's becoming more widely adopted, it's in that growth stage. So that's why I think over the long term, over the next 10 years, it's going to grow.
Yeah. Okay. I accept that answer. Thank you.
But feel free to critique it.
No, like you answered a lot of the questions that I had, so I don't really have any follow-ups to what you said.
Okay,
but like
cool.
the whole feeling with, obviously, like the whole feeling about it just doesn't sit well with me, and I think that's the big thing for me. It just doesn't sit well with me, and that's why I have so many questions about it.
Yeah. The thing is also it's not tangible, and people generally like to be able to touch and feel something.
Exactly.
That's why it's also a bit more difficult to understand. I had to do a lot of reading up. I read up about like the in-depth technical protocols that they use, and also I watched a bunch of debates. And when you listen to a debate, it often clears things up and lets you see the argument from both sides. And watching debates really helped me understand that the intangibility isn't really such a big thing. It doesn't really matter.
And that's what your answers have like cleared up a lot.
Because it's all about the perceived. It's all about the perceived value. Even if there's nothing backing it, if it is perceived to have value and you can buy stuff with it, then it does have value because you can buy stuff with it. So don't think too much about there's no tangible asset backing it.
But you use the example of rands just now, like you have a 20 rand note, but it actually means nothing because it's paper. I just thought, like, at least with the rands, you can compare it to the dollar and the yen and the pound and whatever, so you still have sort of reference points and so on. But with a Bitcoin as well, it's just that's the price. There's nothing to compare it to either, or is there? Or is that
what do you mean? So you said you can compare rands to other currencies.
Yeah, because there's other currencies that you can say, okay, cool, 20 rand is worth just over $1.
Yeah.
So a rand is worth a little bit less than what $1 is, but a pound is worth more than $1. So you've got sort of this structure, this framework that you can place different currencies in, and in that way also assign different values to like different currencies. Using specifically now the rand's example that you made, where with Bitcoin it feels like that's just how much it costs. Like, and someone decided that, and there's like, because you can't compare it to anything either.
I mean, you can buy Bitcoin from various different currencies, and it has prices denominated in different currencies. But the value from Bitcoin actually comes from being able to buy things directly with Bitcoin. And at the moment, there's not that many things that you can buy directly with Bitcoin, but more and more vendors are accepting Bitcoin. And that's why I was saying, for Bitcoin to become more valuable and to really grow, more vendors need to start accepting Bitcoin, which we are saying, such as PayPal, Microsoft, Wikipedia. A lot more companies are starting to accept it now.
Also, Liam. Also, in terms of the reference point, how you can sort of revert back to, but the dollar is compared to the pound and the pound's compared to the yen and such and so forth. I think also Bitcoin can still be compared to the dollar in the same light, I think, in that value. Because if you have a look at if the dollar strengthens kind of thing, then things don't usually look too bright for cryptocurrencies. However, if real value, monetary currencies start depreciating, sorry, it's obviously Gabriel. If things start depreciating, the cryptocurrencies then increase when the actual currencies decrease. Is that not true, Simon?
Sorry, I missed a bit there. I couldn't hear everything.
So I'm just trying to get Gabriel on. He's trying to join. Have you managed to get the link, Gabriel? Okay, I'm just gonna just forget what I said. I'm gonna quickly help Gabriel.
Okay.
Can't forget what you said.
Yeah, I'm gonna help you now, Gabriel. Okay, what's your
My Microsoft Teams,
Gabriel.now
at accessworld.com.
accessworld.com. Should I gotta do it from? Yeah. Shit. Why is this not working now?
Also, Liam, one more important thing when comparing Bitcoin to fiat currencies is the supply is limited at 21 million, which is quite important to remember. As you've seen in the US, they printed 40% of all US dollars in circulation within the last, I think it's 16 months or
Hey,
something.
did you get it, Gabriel?
Yeah, I heard,
So it's crazy, you know, with fiat currencies, anything can happen. They can just start printing more whenever they feel like it, and also they can control it a lot more, but they can't do that with cryptocurrencies.
I see. Yeah.
Oh, hold on, I didn't add you. Gabriel dot.
Yeah. I get you, Simon. Thanks.
Accessworld.com. I sent it to your other email. I first sent it to your original GabrielMel2@gmail.com.
No, I sent through my work one.
Okay, there, I sent it. Gabriel.Null@accessworld.com.
Yeah.
Okay, I've sent it.
Did you tell me to join meeting? Just say the invite, add to meeting. In the meeting, what you in now, just say the add to meeting.
Show participants. I can't. Oh, sorry, is my mic still unmuted? Gabriel, you should have the invite. I'm not sure how else, but you should have it. Optional there. Your name's on there. Gabriel.now@accessworld.com. Like, that's it.
I got nothing here. What's the group called?
EasyTraders.
Yeah, I'm joining.
Okay. Finally.
For some reason, I got the honor of letting you in. I don't know. I'm not the meeting host, but
I think it just does that for everyone.
Yeah,
Gabriel.
Flip, man! I thought it was special. Bugger.
How's it, boys?
How's it?
Yeah. So have you spoken about all the other shit?
I want to know, have you spoken about that Hulett sugar place?
No, we haven't spoken about that.
I want to hear a bit more about that.
Okay, touch on that quickly, Simon.
Sorry?
We're going to touch on that.
I didn't prepare anything for Tongaat.
Okay, but you do have, obviously, you know what's cooking there.
Yeah, I know what's cooking. Yeah, do you want like a brief overview of what's going on there?
Well, I read that.
So basically what I read into them, that all of us know that they overvalued their shares. I think it was 2018. And because of that scandal, the shares dropped massively. But in 2016, they also had a bit of a dip because of the international sugar commodity price dipped by quite a lot. So they lost a lot of revenue there, and then the shares were trading at about 130 Rand and dropped to about 80 Rand. People bought in and bought, but then in 2018, there was a bit of a mess up there with the books. They were cooking their books to show company was basically overvalued, and now they dropped to R9. And then I think Simon touched on it, saying they've got a new CEO, etc., in place, which they have. I see they sold their starch plant, so their liquidity, so their debt to asset ratio is actually improved. They've cut a lot back on their debt, and now they actually. So basically, my opinion is buy. They're trading at R9 now per share. Yeah, so I didn't do a lot of research on them. I prepared a lot for Glencore. But yeah, the brief touching that I had on Tongaat was it's promising.
Gabriel, you're cutting out a bit. You're
Yeah.
moving away from your
I'll
mic.
also I'll give a little background on Tongaat as well. So yeah, they had the share price drop and everything, and then they got this new CEO, Gavin Hudson. He's a really stand-up kind of guy. Looks like he's been working 7 days a week for the past 2 years. And also you can see if you look at their financials, they've been increasing their earnings. So they made a profit last year for the first time in 2020. So that's good. And they are trying to streamline the business. So they also sold off the starch division because they had to. So I think that leaves them with, I think 11 billion rand in debt after selling the starch plant for 5 billion. And that starch represented about 25% of their revenue stream. So they've still got 75% of what they used to have. And yeah, they're just working on paying back the debt. That's the major problem there. So they do have a lot of debt, but they seem to have like managed everything. They have these debt targets. There's a video on YouTube. It's an hour long interview with the CEO, Gavin Hudson. I'd recommend watching that. But yeah, they're making all the repayments on time, and it's looking pretty good. So yeah.
In your opinion, buy or sell?
I would buy.
And what do you think?
Gabriel, try to get a bit closer to your mic. I don't know. It sounds like you molesting the mic. Like it's making weird noises. I can't hear Salaka. But just touching on that thing where Simon said they've turned over profit for the first time, you can actually see, they started dipping in 2018. From 2017 to 2018, you can just see, obviously when the whole scandal broke out, and then their revenue also took a massive hit because of that. And then I guess start of 2020 was where they, if I heard correctly, where they changed over management, and you can actually see now how it. Yes, sir, Gabriel. Are you in a sauna in a steam room there?
No, because I've been keeping fucking sellotape over my camera because it's the company's laptop, so you never know who's spying on you.
Oh. Well, now I'm pretty sure the camera, they can never spy on you again, anyways. So yeah, you can actually see. Look at that, and they turned from earnings of -1.6 billion to -270 mil, and now for the first time 7.5 mil. So it's quite impressive. That's why the snowflake analysis looks quite poor, obviously, because of it's based on the past a lot. So
one thing I forgot to mention is the company's market cap is at the moment 1.12 billion rand, and they bring in 4 billion rand in revenue annually, and their earnings after paying off 1.6 billion rand in finance costs and debt related things is I think it was 500 million rand. So if you think about that, once they finish paying off their debt, they're going to be making 2 billion rand in profit every year. So think about that. A company worth 1.12 billion rand making 2 billion rand profit, and then that's generally companies trade at a PE of around, or companies in the food industry trade at a PE at around 10. So then with 2 billion rand in net income, you can expect the company to be worth 20 billion rand, and it's currently 1.12.
No, exactly.
So as you said it, Simon, there it is. So you can just see, like it's looking very positive. And if you check at the valuation, I mean, now with the new marketing, they reckon the fair value of the stock should be around 200 rand. So this is in my
20 times what it's currently worth.
So it's 96% undervalued, which is immense. So I think, like in my opinion, this is like a Sasol situation.
And which we see Sasol now increasing, actually.
Sorry?
And we actually see Sasol increasing now. I mean, it's been on it's hit the 200 mark for 2 weeks straight in a row.
Yeah.
So
in terms of Tongaat, I think this is almost a no-brainer. They haven't got enough data on the insider trading volume, but the management, as you can see, serves as a director and chat all about that. So I think Tongaat is a good thing. If we just quickly check at what their 7-day analysis is, let's get a 1 month open.
I think what we should actually maybe start discussing in this group is Easy Equities offers you the option of buying in bundles where they have maybe 10 shares or whatever. So if we can maybe pinpoint 5 companies in which this group feels safe, we can create our own bundle in that type of sense where we group together 5 companies or 10 companies and we say, let's focus on these 10, these 5, and we put money into them as needless to say, our own type of bundle.
I think that's a good idea. I think we'll save that for the next meeting. So we can add that to the agenda and we can put in that, do some research on what 5 shares you'd like to sort of chat about.
Or 10, so we can maybe do like a 50 half risky and a 50 your blue chip type of shares, companies that are not vulnerable, companies that will have your steady growth, and then 5 risky companies.
I get you. I think that's a good idea.
Yes,
and then
Simon?
No, I said it sounds good.
So my main interest now is in Nutritional Holdings. Simon, what did you manage to gather on them?
So basically, their biggest positive is the contracts that they've gotten. So there's the German contract for 1.28 billion rand over the next 3 years, and the Japanese contract over the next 2 years for 780 million rand. And then you've got to watch their debt. They are going to have to take on new debt to be able to finance all the plants and things needed to make these, to give the suppliers their product. But those are big contracts, so their revenue should grow to at least 500 million rand. And at the moment, their revenue for 2020 was 41 million rand. So that's more than a 10-fold increase. So.
And I saw they were sending out also in the AGM, they wanted actually to give it like a 2-to-1 share offer type of thing.
I think there's also going to be a share buyback or a share.
They were talking about
consolidation.
That.
So they're going to do
a share consolidation.
I think they're going to do a 25-to-1.
Because at the moment there's so much shares available in the market. I think that's why the max
nobody wants to buy it for double the price. So to get some trading going, I think they're probably going to do a consolidation.
Yeah, but it leaves us in a good spot that have already bought now. For it's 1 cent a share.
The share price doesn't matter too much at the moment. What it is,
because I don't even think they traded.
Nothing's going to happen now. Only when they do that consolidation, then you're going to actually see the price move a little bit.
Then something will actually start happening. Because at the moment it's just been pretty dormant.
Also, when they start, at the moment, there's not many institutional investors there, but when they start growing their revenue and they become more widely adopted, then also institutions will start looking at them. So that's always a thing that drives up share prices, and when institutions buy in.
Yeah.
But
Exactly.
anyways, yeah, I'm gonna go, guys. I have something I have to go do. So it was very good. Thanks a lot for the meeting. Thanks Cameron for organizing the thing, and Gabriel as well.
Okay, I think next week we maybe discuss doing a bundle together, 5 or 8 shares, which you notice 4 high risk, 4 low risk, and we discuss that.
And then, I suggest having a look at Jubilee Platinum as well. Very small metals company that could be on the increase.
And Sibanye Stillwater.
Yeah.
Okay, but let's all discuss it on the
We'll chat about that next week, yeah.
Yeah, obviously we have to just touch base. Okay, lekker boys.
Sweet.
Thanks.
Yeah, shot for the first meeting. Cheers, bye.
Thanks, guys. Are we all leaving now? It's just Simon leaving. It's just me.